Cohort study. Cohort study is a type of analytical study after the case control study. A cohort refers to a group of people with a certain similarity. People born during the same time duration, for example, from 2000 to 2010, may be considered as a birth cohort. People married in the same time period may be referred to as a marriage cohort. The study, unlike the case control study, moves backward to forward. That is, it moves from the cause to the effect. It studies a group of people who are exposed to the cause of the disease and then the time that is taken to develop or the effect of the disease to get into action. There are 5 major steps that are involved in a cohort study. The first step being the selection of the study subject. Second, obtaining data on exposure. Third, selection of comparison groups. Fourth, follow-up. And finally, a result or analysis. The first and foremost step is to select a cohort, which is, as previously mentioned, a group of people with common similarity. It may be selected from the general population or may be selected from a specific area. All subjects should be exposed to the risk factor and should not be suffering from the disease at the time of selection. Obtaining data on exposure. Information regarding exposure to the risk factor or the preventive factor should be obtained from the study subjects. This may be done by an interview with the subject, mailed questionnaires, or by going through workplace records, medical records, school records, etc. Once the exposure risk has been estimated in a particular cohort, the comparison has to be made of the cohort with another group. The comparison group may be selected from within the cohort, in which case it is referred to as an internal comparison, or it may be compared with another cohort of almost the same background, which is called as an external cohort, external comparison, or it may be compared with the general population. The most tedious step that has to be done in a very appropriate manner is the follow-up. It has to be done at regular intervals so that correct data is collected from the subjects. Follow-up refers to regular visits that are made or regular touch that is kept with the subjects so that they do not lose facts about the study. Most of the dropouts occur at this stage. Follow-ups may be done by home visits, phone calls, questionnaires, emails, etc. After all the steps have been done, the analysis of the result has to be declared. The data is analyzed in terms of incidence rate and in the estimation of the risk. Incidence rate refers to the probability of occurrence of the disease in a particular community, while estimation of risk shows us how dangerous is the risk or the exposure to the risk. Case control and cohort study are the two analytical studies that have been discussed. Here is a summary of both the studies. Case control study is a retrospective study, while a cohort study is a prospective study. The case control study studies diseased groups versus non-diseased ones. The cohort study studies groups that are non-diseased and waits for it to develop the disease. The case control study looks for exposure risk factors. The cohort study looks for the likelihood or the probability of development of the disease. A case control study helps to establish an association, while the cohort study helps also to establish an association. The main objective of a case control study is to find out the probability of or the odds ratio of development of the disease in a particular community, while the cohort study finds the relative risk.